Today we are going to be ranking the greatest strikers in the UFC. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. So these weren't chosen by myself. I took the rankings from Tapology and their top, I believe I took the top 50 strikers voted by the users of Tapology, and I took a select few people that I noticed weren't on that list and also included them. So of course, we are ranking the best strikers all the way from SS to B tier. We also have a DQ tier for the people who have knowingly failed any drug tests. I don't think that we should be ranking them, and I think that we should be shaming those people, okay? Starting off with Nate Diaz. And I should have mentioned, I'm going to be speaking on every fighter as if they were in their prime, okay? Nate Diaz, he's always been a good boxer, but striker in general, he's always like, you know what? I think we're starting off with a strong B tier here, man. All he had was his hands. His hands were good, but he got by on his toughness and his cardio more than anything. Alexander Gustafsson, though, on the other hand, guys. This man, in his prime, was a menace. This dude was a phenomenal striker. And you know what, yeah, prime Gustafsson, dare I put him in the SS tier? Outstruck Jones, took Daniel Cormier to a dogfight, arguably won that fight. Man, I might move people around, but I'm going to start Alexander Gustafsson off straight into the S tier, okay? Alistair Overeem, phenomenal striker. But of course, we do have to... Oh, did he ever... Here's the problem. Did Alistair Overeem ever actually fail a drug test? The problem was, it was so obvious that he was on something, right? I don't think that he actually failed a test. I don't recall. But I'm going to put Alistair Overeem into the A tier. He got away with fighting a lot of people that weren't at his level striking, okay? Anthony Rumble Johnson. When I was downloading all of these images to put into Tier Maker, this is the one that kind of made me stop and think, because how often do we really see Rumble strike? Because he just shut people's lights off. And this is the tough part about it. You could argue like SS tier because he's just coming in and he's turning people's lights off. And great fighters too. He touches you, you die. But we don't see all of that same technique. He does have good technique. So this is the issue with it, right? And please comment down below if you disagree with me, but I think because he has such devastating power in his hands, and he wins so many fights in such a dominating fashion, like an Ilia Topuria type style, I have to put him in the SS tier. I think Anthony Rumble Johnson, we have to do that, right? He touches people and they die. That is the definition of being a good striker, right? Anthony Showtime Pettis. Very good striker, but I will say, he's very fun, very flashy, very tough. I just don't think that he stacks up to anywhere like an Alexander Gustafsson. I'm going to put Anthony Pettis right below Alistair Overeem into the A tier, okay? Brandon Moreno. Very, very interesting. He's very elusive, very fast, has all the technique in the world. I think he's a very underrated striker. But nothing stands out from Brandon Moreno makes me think oh yeah, this dude. He also has the toughness aspect, but we're not going to be including things like toughness. We're talking about striking technique in general. So, Brandon Moreno, I'm going to put at the top of A tier. He's outstruck some very, very good fighters. Charles Oliveira. Unfortunately, he's another fighter that gets by on a lot of his toughness. He has very good Muay Thai, but he also gets hit so much. I love Do Bronx. He's a phenomenal fighter and a phenomenal champion. And it's important to note anybody, guys, in the B tier, and I know I'm going to have to put people towards last. These are still the best strikers in the UFC. So I don't mean any disrespect by where I'm placing all of these fighters. I'm going to put Charles Oliveira right... Sorry, I picked the wrong one. I'm going to put him right in front of Nate Diaz, okay? Cody Garbrandt. Prime Cody Garbrandt. I will say I think he's a little bit overrated, but the dude's hands are fast. The dude's calf kicks are fast. I think he's a good striker. We're talking specifically about striking. And I don't think... Yeah, you can't include, the lack of chin, right? It's the technique of the striking. So I'm going to put him in the A tier. I'm going to put Cody Garbrandt right in front of Anthony Pettis. Now, Corey Sandhagen. Phenomenal striker. Very elusive, very technical. He's great. And he went toe-to-toe and arguably won a fight against TJ Dillashaw in an MMA fight with a ton of striking. And TJ Dillashaw is one of the greatest strikers of all time, in my opinion. Corey Sandhagen is going to go into the S tier, right behind Alexander Gustafsson. Derrick Lewis. Bottom of B tier, okay? You know, Derrick Lewis might be we might need to add a C tier for Derrick Lewis, to be honest with you. We will add a C tier for Derrick Lewis. Just a second. Yeah, we're moving Derrick Lewis down there, guys, because this dude has no technique, and all he has is one giant punch to land on people's chins. It's not like Rumble Johnson. He gets by on just like swinging, okay? Dominic Cruz. Guys, I'm sorry. And I've always thought Dominic Cruz is overrated. I've always thought that. I like Dominic Cruz. I've always loved watching him fight. He was just a little bit ahead of his time, and I don't understand how he never got his legs chewed up more than he did. Dominic Cruz, very overrated striker. Very overrated career for a lot of his wins. He's had a lot of great wins, don't get me wrong, but I can't believe that he had as much success as he had in the UFC. I'm putting him in the B tier, at the top of B tier, okay? And I know I might hear about that one, okay? Dustin Poirier, very good striker. One of the best boxers in the UFC. He has great kickboxing and dirty boxing behind all of that. He is a very, 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 very good striker. I'm going to put him into the S tier. Do I put Dustin Poirier ahead of Corey Sandhagen? I do, but I think Alexander Gustafsson's a better striker than Dustin Poirier, okay? Edson Barboza, arguably one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. When we're talking pure striking, the technique, the speed, the power, and the snappiness behind his shots are next level. If we are talking pure kickboxing, pure striking match, Edson Barboza is one of the best ever do it. But he always did suffer to pressure. Do I put him, do I back him up from the SS tier for that reason? I think I do. But I will put Edson Barboza ahead of Alexander Gustafsson. He had a weakness, but I mean, Rumble had a weakness too. Am I thinking too hard about this? No, we're talking about striking, but how you lose fights matters too, right? It has to matter. I'm going to put him in the SS tier, right behind Rumble Johnson, okay? Fedor Emelianenko, great fighter, overrated career, overrated wins. He had good technique, and he's a very, very good fighter, but I think that he got by fighting a lot of people it's like the Dominic Cruz effect, where he's lucky that he fought a lot of the people that he did, because a lot of the heavyweights, like the Junior Dos Santoses, the Cain Velasquez, that era of heavyweights, if he was in the UFC, I don't think he would have had as much success, but he's still a great fighter, okay? He's going to go, in my opinion, I'll put him right in front of Anthony Pettis, okay? Tony Ferguson. Got by in his toughness a little bit, but in Tony Ferguson's prime, he was very creative, had very good kickboxing, very good pressure. He's a very, very dangerous man. I'm going to put Tony Ferguson into the A tier. Do I put him in front of Brandon Moreno? Because that's where I'm thinking about it. Tony Ferguson outstruck some really, really good guys. But Tony Ferguson also got cranked a ton. So I'm going to put Brandon Moreno in front of him, okay? And Gegard Mousasi. Here comes the glaze, guys. I think Gegard Mousasi is not only one of the most underrated strikers of all time, I believe he's one of the most underrated fighters of all time. Prime Gegard Mousasi would be middleweight champion in the UFC right now. He would beat Dricus du Plessis. He would beat Caio Borralho. He would beat everybody in that division. He would outstrike them all, and I know he would, okay? Gegard Mousasi, he was always able to match the best at the best with his own technique, and I think he is phenomenal at what he does, okay? Gegard Mousasi is going right behind Alexander Gustafsson in front of Dustin Poirier. Dan Henderson, he had the H-bomb. He did get hit a fair amount, and he had to mix in the martial arts, but we're talking about striking specifically. He had his big H-bomb, and that's pretty well the only thing that really stuck out from his striking. For that reason, I'm going to put Dan Henderson into, I'm going to put him at the top of B tier, okay? Right ahead of Dominic Cruz. Now, Max Holloway, arguably one of the greatest boxers in UFC history, but Max Holloway gets hit a lot. So Max Holloway gets by on his cardio. Max Holloway gets by on his chin. But he also has phenomenal technique. Phenomenal technique. His hands are really crisp. He's added a lot of great kickboxing behind that. His spin kicks have been money in his last few fights. And he's still improving. Max Holloway is one of the greatest strikers in the UFC, and I'm going to put him. I'm going to put him right behind Dustin Poirier, okay? Cyril Gane, one of the best heavyweight strikers that we've seen. The technique, the movement, the power, he's ahead of the heavyweight division, that's the problem, but I don't think that anything that we've seen technique-wise from Cyril Gane really makes me think that he's, like, better than a lot of the lighter guys, okay? I'm going to put Cyril Gane right in front of Fedor. I think that's a fair spot if we're talking about pure striking. Nasruddin Imavov, another very underrated striker. His fundamentals are great. Look what he just did to Israel Adesanya. I know it's past his prime too, but Nasruddin Imavov is outstriking a ton of guys. Where do I want to put Nasruddin Imavov? I'm actually going to put him right behind Tony Ferguson. And Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt, he had hands and he had power. Kind of like on the level of Derrick Lewis, but he's not as bad as Derrick Lewis. Okay? Mark Hunt fits straight into the B tier in my opinion. I'm going to put him right ahead of Nate Diaz. Okay, Anderson Silva. This is our first DQ. Failed a steroid test. Failed the drug test. He was on PEDs his entire career probably. Other than that, I would be putting Anderson Silva in the SS tier, okay? Same deal with John Jones. I'd put John Jones in the S tier, though, but John Jones is going to go into the DQ as well. Islam Makhachev. I love Islam Makhachev, and I love his fighting style, but I do think that his striking, people like to talk about, like, oh, Islam is a very good striker, too. And don't get me wrong, he is a good striker. He's a very good striker. I think he's an overrated striker, though. People like to talk, people talk about how underrated Islam Makhachev's striking to the point where I think that Islam Makhachev's striking is overrated. I think he is just a very good striker, and that's it. His boxing's really crisp. His kickboxing's very nice, too. It's just, nothing about it stands out, makes me go, whoo, Islam Makhachev. It's his entire MMA game. It's his complete skill set that makes him stand out. It's not just his striking, okay? Islam Makhachev, I'm going to put into the A tier. I'm going to put him ahead of Alistair Overeem. I think that's a good spot for him, okay? Jan Blachowicz, so underrated in the striking department, guys. The way that he knows the timing on his shots, his defense is on point too, and not a lot of fighters have their defense really stand out. His calf kicks are so good. His body kicks are money. Look at the damage he was doing to Dominic Reyes. His striking was crisp, and he's only gotten better as time's gone on. Dare I say, striking-wise, Jan Blachowicz is better than these guys in the S tier? Dare I say it? His offense and defense are on point, because a lot of these guys, like Gegard Mousasi has great defense too. Gustafsson had okay defense, but I think it's where it separates these few guys over here. Corey Sandhagen has some pretty good defense. I might hear about this in the comments, guys. I might hear about it, but there's these little techniques that I've watched Jan Blachowicz do that really makes me like go, wow, that's pretty good, you know? I'm going to put Jan Blachowicz. I'm going to put him ahead of Alexander Gustafsson. I think he's an excellent striker, okay? Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Good striker. Ahead of her division. Ahead of her time. Fought in one of the worst divisions of UFC history, so she is going into the B tier. Where do I put Joanna at? She was kind of all volume. She gets hit. She doesn't get hit as much as Charles Oliveira. We're going to put her right ahead of Charles Oliveira, okay? We're going to put her right behind Dominic Cruz. Anyways, Demetrius Johnson. Very good striker. Very high fight IQ. He has technique in all aspects of MMA. One of the most complete fighters, and he can absolutely fight kickboxing, Muay Thai, striking, whatever it is he can match you at. He is one of the greatest fighters of all time. I'm putting him into the SS tier. Do I put him ahead of Edson Barboza? No. I'm going to put him right behind Edson Barboza, okay? Johnny Hendricks. Very underrated striker. He could fall into the DQ category, but he hasn't failed, so we're not going to, okay? Johnny Hendricks had... I remember like people talking like Goldberg going, oh, he has dynamite in his left hand. The dude was great. The dude could scrap. The dude had very crisp kickboxing. He is one of the most underrated strikers in the UFC. Guys, I'm going to put Johnny Hendricks into the S tier. I'm going to put him right behind Max Holloway. Let's continue on to Jorge Masvidal. A little bit of an overrated striker. He's a good kickboxer, but nothing about him really stands out. I think that he can run the B tier. I'm going to put him at the top of B tier and ahead of Dan Henderson, okay? Jose Aldo. Prime Jose Aldo. He was a menace, dude. This guy was a very complete Muay Thai and kickboxing specialist. His leg kicks were on another level. His defense was there. He could do everything when it comes to striking. Jose Aldo is absolutely into the SS tier. I'm going to put him. I'm having such a problem with Rumble. Rumble touches people and they fall. You know? Ah, that's so tough. I think Jose Aldo, especially he fought some great guys too. I'm going to put Jose Aldo ahead of Rumble Johnson. I've been more impressed from what I've seen, okay? Junior Dos Santos, he failed. DQ, unfortunately. Junior Dos Santos, though, we would be probably putting into the S tier, okay? Justin Gaethje. One of the guys that gets by on his toughness. I've always thought his technique was overrated. He has great leg kicks. He has great boxing technique, but nothing that really stands out. I think he is flat out an A-tier striker, and I'm going to put Justin Gaethje probably right behind Cyril Gane. That's probably a good spot to put Justin Gaethje. Let's continue on to Chuck Liddell. Kind of the same thing with these older guys, man. Fought some very overrated fighters. I've seen this dude swinging for the fences. He's going to go into the B tier. I'm going to put Chuck Liddell probably right ahead of Mark Hunt. And Lyoto Machida, kind of the same thing, except we've seen a little bit more technique from Lyoto Machida. I'm going to put Lyoto Machida probably right behind Gamebred. I think that's a good spot for him. Now, Magomed Ankalaev is a very interesting one because when I look at Magomed Ankalaev, nothing about his technique really makes me go, okay, look out for this guy. This dude is an insane striker. But look at the resume that he's put together. Look at the guys that he's beat. He's beaten Jan Blachowicz. He's beaten Alex Pereira. You know, he's been beating a lot of guys in the stand-up game for a long time. So I think you have to put Magomed Ankalaev into the S tier. But I still do think, like, if they went prime for prime, I think Jan Blachowicz would outdo Magomed Ankalaev in a striking battle. I'm going to put Magomed Ankalaev at the bottom of S tier, okay? Rafael Fiziev. Here's the thing, too. You have to include cardio in all of this, right? Because that encapsulates the striking game. His technique is very nice. When it comes to, like, pure striking technique, it doesn't get much better than what Fiziev does, but he suffers a little bit from fading throughout the fights. So I think I do have to knock him for that, but other than that, I'm going to put Fiziev probably into the A tier. I think his striking stands out against a bunch of these guys, so I'm going to put him ahead of Brandon Moreno. Conor McGregor. He might be the best striker in MMA history. And I know this has come out of his own mouth, but his precision, timing, and speed were unmatched. That, along with the power that he held in his hand, it was a true beauty to watch in Conor McGregor in his prime. Knocked out Jose Aldo, and I do believe that if him and Jose Aldo had a 5-round fight, Conor McGregor would have gotten the better of that striking battle especially. I think prime Conor McGregor is probably, and maybe we'll change this, but off the top of my head, he might be the best striker in UFC history. I'm going to put him into the SS tier, okay? Michael Page. Very unique striking style. And I think that's what gets most people, but he's very elusive. Very good with his movement. His technique on his kickboxing is very nice, and he's a very, very good striker. I'm going to put him into the S tier, but where into the S tier are we going to put Michael Venom Page? And he showed that he can keep this up into the UFC. His speed is really good. There's a lot about Michael Venom Page that's really good. I'm actually going to separate him between Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Actually, no. I'm going to put him ahead of Dustin Poirier. I think that's a good spot for him. I think he's a little bit better than Dustin Poirier in a complete striking match, okay? Mirko Cro Cop. Same deal like we've been talking about all these guys. Guys, I'm sorry. And I know I'm going to hear about it from people that have been watching UFC forever. I have also watched old UFC fights, okay? I have also done that. He hasn't fought the same level of guys. His technique is good, but nothing about it really stands out, and he's at kind of like a Chuck Liddell level. But I think he's a little bit better than that. He might be a little bit better than Do Bronx, too. You know, I'm going to put him right behind Dominic Cruz. I think that's where we can cut him off. And Stipe Miocic, great striker, great boxer. Again, the toughness was a big aspect of it. The power in his hands was a big aspect of it. Nothing about Stipe's game really stands out, and I'm going to put him right behind Brandon Moreno. Nick Diaz. All he had was his boxing, his toughness, his mouth. He got by on a lot of that, and he got by on a lot of his cardio, just like I talked about Nate, but Nick was infinitely better technique-wise than Nate was. His boxing was very good, very underrated, but a lot of the Diaz fans glaze him a little bit too much. I think Nick Diaz is a low A tier. I'm going to put him right behind Showtime. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A tier for now. We're going to scroll down just a tad and let me make my camera a little bit smaller. Hopefully that's still enjoyable to watch, even though my camera's a little tiny over here, guys. Ooh, Petr Yan. Everything he does is perfect. His boxing, his aggressiveness, his octagon control, his defense, no matter what move that he's throwing, and he can be flashy if he wants to, every single thing that Petr Yan does in the striking department is technically perfect. His defense is on point as well. His cardio's intact. Petr Yan's the best striker in the UFC. I'm putting him ahead of Conor McGregor, SS tier. He's perfect at everything that he does. It's shocking to me that Petr Yan has lost fights. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm a Petr Yan glazer. And let me know, guys, I'm going to try doing this. Put my webcam at the bottom over here. Please let me know what you guys would like to watch. Would you rather it still be at the top over here and cover some stuff? Would you rather it be smaller? Please let me know, because I'm always trying to make this the best viewing experience possible for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to stick with this over here for now. Now, Robbie Lawler. Robbie was good at wars, but his striking, his technique, you know, it could use some work. This dude threw a ton of hooks. This dude threw a ton of overhands. And he does have crisp boxing, don't get me wrong, but he got by in a lot of wars. But I think that does say something, man. Excuse me if you could hear my phone. It's PBJ, depending on what channel you're coming from, okay? We're going to put Robbie Lawler into the A tier on the lower side of A tier. I'm going to put him right behind Justin Gaethje, okay? Robert Whittaker, very solid striker. Very nice technique. He can keep it up. He's taking that against, like, very, very good fighters. His fundamentals are great. Robert Whittaker can pretty well do anything on the feet, and I'm going to put him in the A tier. I think I'm going to put him at the top of A tier. Roman Kopylov. I think we've been overrating Roman Kopylov, and I'm a fan of Roman Kopylov, man. I think he's a phenomenal striker, but I think he's a little bit overrated. I think he's just an A tier. He's just a very, very good striker. I'm going to put Kopylov right behind Brandon Moreno. It seems like a fitting spot for him. Shogun in his prime was a menace, dude. This dude was, I would say, better than a lot of the older generation fighters when it comes to striking. I think he is an A-tier striker. I'm going to put him right ahead of Nick Diaz, okay? Mauricio Ruffy. This is tough because he's still fairly new to the UFC. We haven't seen him fight any sort of top-level competition yet, but from what it seems, and I understand the comparisons to Prime Conor McGregor, this might not age well, but at the point of his career right now, I'm buying into the hype, and I think he's very good, okay? I think Mauricio Ruffy is going to go into the S tier. I'm going to put him right behind Michael Page. He has all of the potential in the world. All of the potential. From what we've seen so far, looking great, man. Now, Boss Rutten, one of the older generational fighters that I think is actually, like, better. Like, you know how I talk about, like, oh, well, he didn't fight the proper competition. He still didn't, but he's a little bit different. The technique, the viciousness, he had all of the different tools in the toolkit that he could use. Boss Rutten is a violent striker. Kind of like Gene Silva, which I don't think that Gene Silva is on this list over here. But, like, I don't mean to compare him with Gene Silva. I'm just talking about, like, they're not like similar in technique, but, like, in pain and violence and, you know, thriving in that type of scenario. He's a very good striker. I'm going to put Boss Rutten probably, I'm going to put him right behind Brandon Moreno. The dude was ahead of his time, okay? Jack Della Maddalena. At this point in Jack Della Maddalena in his career, how could you not put him in the SS tier? Look what he's been doing to people. On the feet, defensively sound, one of the greatest boxers in UFC history, champion right now. What he's doing to people, and he is bringing violence back to the UFC. The dude's technique is solid. He can do everything on the feet when it comes to hands. But it is a lot of handwork. So do I knock him for that at all? But look what he's doing to people. He doesn't even really need, like, I'm not saying that he doesn't, like, you know what I mean. He's primarily a boxer. I'm going to put him at the bottom of SS tier. The dude's been so good, man. Sean Strickland. This is a toughie because he jabs and teeps. But he is a good striker and he outstrikes a lot of guys. Nothing stands out about Sean Strickland. He has a jab and a teep. He's not dangerous. And he's pretty tough. I know he was champion, and I kind of feel bad for doing this, but I'm going to put him in the... I'm going to put Sean Strickland into the B tier, man. He's very good with the Philly shell that we talk about. He's very good at barely slipping punches. No, low A tier. Low A tier. He's a better boxer than Nick Diaz, probably. Yeah, his defense is a little better. I'm going to put him right ahead of Nick Diaz, okay? Ian Gary. He's a very good striker offensively. He is becoming a very complete fighter, but Ian Gary has kind of the Charles Oliveira effect where he does get hit. When he's on the offense, he looks insane, and his game still is developing. I think it takes it back just a little bit for that reason. I'm going to put Ian Gary into the A tier, and I'm going to put him... I like the technique a little more, guys. I think I'm going to put Ian Gary running the A tier, okay? Israel Adesanya. He's always been a tough one because his style is so, like, defensively sound, and if he's controlling the pace, he is so good at what he does. But, like, there isn't too much viciousness in the offense. Contender Izzy, though. Contender Izzy was a different story. I don't know. That's a tough one, too. I don't think that he's an SS tier striker. I'm going to put Israel Adesanya into the S tier. Yeah, I'm going to put him into the S tier because we're talking about prime Israel Adesanya, and that dude was a menace. Prime Israel Adesanya was Contender Adesanya, and Contender Adesanya was an animal, and I'm going to put him right behind Gegard Mousasi, okay? Now we're getting into some tough territory over here. Alexander Volkanovski. One of the prime Alexander Volkanovski, in my opinion, is the greatest fighter of all time. I think he is the GOAT of MMA. If we're talking prime for every fighter ever, Volkanovski I believe to be the best fighter of all time. But there's a lot of different reasons why that is. When we separate the striking, it's still some of the best in the world. He might just be the best in the world. But what if he were to go toe-to-toe with Petr Yan and Conor McGregor? I am going to, at the very least, put him behind Conor McGregor. That is so tough. He's so fast. He's so good at what he does. Is he better than Petr Yan? Striking, pound for pound. This is tough because I believe Alexander Volkanovski is the greatest fighter of all time. Prime Alexander Volkanovski. But when we separate him from the striking, I don't know. I'm going to put him right between Petr Yan and Conor McGregor. Petr Yan is the perfect striker. Alexander Volkanovski gets clipped. Petr Yan has the defensive capabilities, but Conor McGregor is very elusive too. Oh my God, dude, that is tough. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to put him right behind Conor McGregor. These three you could shuffle around, man. You could shuffle them around. Now, Joshua Van. Did this dude not just prove himself? This dude has proven himself to be one of the greatest fighters, or not great. Yeah, one of the greatest fighters right now, but one of the greatest strikers in UFC history. Not just his boxing, his kickboxing, his toughness, and I was about to say the ability to keep things on the feet, but that doesn't matter. Striking, his cardio's there, his power's there, his technique is there, his counters are there. Guys, this dude is only 23 years old, and he's improving. I think he's 23. If not, he's around 23. I've seen enough, and I've been completely convinced of him for a long time, and after the Brandon Royval fight, he proved himself to be championship caliber in one of the toughest divisions in combat sports history. Joshua Van is in the SS tier, and I can't believe I'm doing this to somebody so new to the UFC. I'm putting him right behind Jose Aldo. Right behind. He is a phenomenal striker, okay? Valentina Shevchenko. Prime Valentina Shevchenko had very, very good technique, and she was not the boring fighter that you see nowadays, and she was so good, dude. She was a great, great, great fighter. But her competition level was garbo. So we're putting her in the B tier. I'm going to put her, I think technique-wise, she's better than Jorge Masvidal, okay? Stephen Thompson. Great fighter. One of the few fighters to actually be able to utilize that karate stance. Stephen Thompson, very unique, very elusive, very accurate with the shots, had some nice power to him. I'm going to put Wonderboy, Prime Wonderboy. I'm going to put him into the A tier, very high A tier. I'll put him, I'm going to have Wonderboy right behind Ian Gary. Ian Gary has some more tools that I like. I think that's pretty fair, okay? George St. Pierre, one of the greatest fighters of all time, but I do think when we talk about the best strikers in the UFC, George St. Pierre does not belong into the SS tier. I think he is an S tier striker. His complete MMA game is a complete different story, but he was a very good striker. I'm going to put him, right ahead of Magomed Ankalaev. I think he's comparable in skill over there, okay? TJ Dillashaw. We're going to have to throw him into the DQ category for failing drug test, but man, TJ Dillashaw, he might be better than Petr Yan. No, oh my God. I would kill to see Prime TJ Dillashaw versus Prime Petr Yan, man. One of the greatest strikers in UFC history. Tom Aspinall. We haven't seen him fight enough, and that's an issue, obviously. He has great power. He does have great technique, but I don't like his chin's way up in the air. The dude's going to get cracked one day. Unfortunately, I can't rank him too highly because we haven't seen enough from him, but then again, he just knocks people out, but also the competition level that he's faced isn't the best. So we're going to put Tom Aspinall into the A tier. I'm going to put him... Where do I put him? I think Stipe's a better striker than him. I think Imavov is a better striker than him. I'm going to put him right ahead of Islam Makhachev, okay? That's tough, man. You know what? I'm going to change this. I'm going to put Overeem ahead of Aspinall because I think Overeem was better than Aspinall, and I think that's where I like to put it, okay? Now, here's another problem. Ilia Topuria. I have the same issue here that I have with Rumble Johnson. He touches people and they die. He is so good at striking. Where it's not like the technique where I like, oh my God, look at this. It's not like a Conor McGregor. It's not like a Petr Yan, right? Where I watch this and I go, look at this technique. It's beautiful. But he kills people. He turns the lights off. So it's a very, very difficult thing to rank. And I think that I have to put him in comparison with Rumble Johnson because they kind of have the same effect on people. I've seen better technique from all of these guys that makes me think that they might be better strikers. But the problem is, if you have an Ilia Topuria did shut the lights off of Alexander Volkanovski. But when they were going toe-to-toe, Alexander Volkanovski, in my opinion, won the first round that they had. You know? That's why it's tough. I watched some kickbox, and I think that Alexander Volkanovski is a better striker. But who won? So should you put Ilia Topuria in front of Alexander Volkanovski? That's the problem that I'm having with all of this. I'm going to put Ilia Topuria ahead of Rumble Johnson because of the wins that Ilia Topuria has. But I'm going to put him in a similar scenario, a similar case because of that, okay? Yair Rodriguez, technique-wise, one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. He lacks the power, the finishing instincts, but when you watch this guy strike and when you let his kicks blast, this dude is an absolute animal. He's one of the best strikers in the UFC. I think he's comparable to Edson Barboza, but I'm going to put him right behind Edson Barboza. Barboza was a little bit more vicious, okay? And finally, Zabit Magomedsharipov. I think he's always been a little bit overrated. He had all of the potential in the world, but he was a very, very solid striker. Lacked a little bit of cardio issues, but he was a very good striker, and I'm going to put Zabit into the A tier. I'm going to put him, actually, probably right behind Robert Whittaker. And guys, I know I'm probably going to hear about this in the comment section down below, but in my opinion, I think that I did a good job. It's so tough once we get to the SS tier, and I think you can, like, call it off. Like, I think it's good where Barboza is, but these guys, you can just shuffle around, man. Like, all of them are so good. So, I landed at Petr Yan being the best striker in UFC history. Let me know what you think about everything down below. Thank you so much for watching. We also made a video on a tier list ranking the greatest fighters of all time in general. Who is the GOAT of MMA? And you can check that video out right here if you're interested. I would love to have you over there. Thank you so much for being here and watching the video, guys. Take care, everybody.